welcome into Around the Bags. It's our second edition, I should say. As our first edition last week, we had some good news from around the MLB and from Royals camp. We talked a little bit about the new commissioner and about how the Royals and Dayton Moore are going to have success here in 2015. We got a good edition for you here today as Thomas Lemanske is back on the mic. Thomas, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. It's good to be here. How are you doing?
Doing just fine. This should be a good show. We got a lot on hand. We're going to go all 9 innings. So without further ado, let's get this first inning underway here. And it's coming out of Rangers camp. The news out of Rangers camp as Yu Darvish leaves after his debut. He only threw 12 pitches, Thomas.
Yeah, he had tightness in his right tricep. He started to feel the pain while he was warming up. He should have MRI Friday. The Rangers are hopeful, but, only time will tell.
Yeah, and he was injury-plagued last year. He had tightness in his neck. He had a little bit of arm troubles last year. And the Rangers can't afford that. As they finished 5th last year, no starter other than Yu Darvish had a winning record as Darvish posted a 3.06 ERA. The Rangers went 67-95. That was good enough for 5th in the AL West. They allowed 773 runs. They cannot afford to lose him.
Yeah, he went 10-7 last year. He pitched in 22 games. If you want to get hurt, you need to get hurt in the spring training. I know you don't want to get hurt, but it's good that he's getting hurt in spring training. Hopefully, he can get back into full strength and be ready when the season starts.
Absolutely, and he is a big strikeout guy as he led the league in 2013 with 277 strikeouts. That's just absolutely astronomical numbers there as he has multiple wipeout pitches. His strikeout to walk last year was a 3.71 in that 10-7 record season, even though he did get hurt. So he has a lot of potential, Thomas, a lot of potential to be kind of a Cy Young guy and definitely a leader for the Rangers.
Yeah, his first year in the MLB in 2012, he won Rookie of the Year. So, the past 3 years, 2012, 2013, 2014, he went to the All-Star game. So, if he's not ready by the season, they're going to be missing him, and that will tell. We'll see what happens. And
they'll certainly need him as well, as the offense for the Rangers certainly lagging, as the star Prince Fielder, who had some nagging injuries last year, only posted a 247 batting average in the 42 games he played. He only hit 3 bombs, as most people figured with the short porch and right that Prince Fielder would be kind of the guy on offense, but not the case. It was more of Adrian Beltre, the veteran third baseman. So the Rangers certainly are going to need that pitching and that defense if their offense is not going to contribute.
Yeah, their offense really struggled last year. Prince Fielder's absence really, really hurt them. Adrian Beltre did as much as he could, but, in the end, it wasn't enough. Yu Darvish's absence didn't help that at all. So hopefully it's a bounce-back year for him, and only time will tell.
Alrighty, so that was our first inning. We'll get into the second inning now. Some more pitching news, as the big news in the offseason of John Lester signing with the Cubs. 6 years, $155 million. The
Wow.
guy got paid, Thomas.
Yeah, no kidding. 6 years, $155 million. Yeah, that's insane. You look at their rotation right now. It's Jake Arrieta, Kyle Hendricks, Jason Hamill, and Travis Wood. So, he's their ace. He's going to be the one that carries the load. Hopefully he has a good year. Hopefully he lives up to that big contract he got. Yeah,
and he's so far in the spring, he's been all right. He threw 2 scoreless innings with a broken bat single here the other day, and that just shows that he's keeping up his consistency of being a great pitcher. He's got 4 or 5 pitches. He's got a great changeup. He's got a great slider from that left-handed side. I would say he's one of the top lefties in the league, along with Mad Bum, Madison Bumgarner, and Clayton Kershaw. He's got a lot of lethal pitches that hitters do not want to see on a daily basis.
Yeah, you look at his career ERA, it's 3.58. It gets even better in the postseason with the postseason ERA of 2.57. And then he has a K to walk with 3.17. So, I mean, he's just dominant. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, there really is no other way to put it. And now going from the A's, where the A's didn't have nearly amount of the offense, in my opinion, as this Chicago Cubs team will have as they are rebuilding. They've got a lot of young guys. I think it's very smart of Theo Epstein to build this young team around a veteran in John Lester. They've got a lot of young guys in Jorge Soler, Anthony Rizzo, who hit 31 home runs last year, Javier Baez. He contributed a lot, and a lot of these young guys will feed off of the pitching of John Lester.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of relate this team to the Royals back like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, they have top 5 farm system right now. The Royals had that, and all these guys are starting to come up through the minors and making their way to the big league. So, I mean, hopefully they all pan out. Only time will tell, but we'll see how the season goes for them.
Absolutely, and John Lester will have a pretty good rotation around him as well, as you kind of mentioned earlier, Thomas. He'll have Jake Arrieta, who is projected to win 14 games. So if he would be able to do that and John Lester would be able to post around 15 to 20 wins, the Cubs could be looking at their first postseason appearance since 2008. You never know.
Yeah, and I certainly think that John Lester is more capable of 15 wins. I think he's around the 20 range. I think he'll do it. That team's going to be deadly. That team's going to be one to look out for. So
yeah, and it'll be fun to watch as the Cubs have not had a lot of success in the recent years. Obviously, the Cubs have been lacking in a lot of different ways. We'll move on here to the third inning, and it's more pitching out of the Nationals camp. It's Max Scherzer. He got paid 7 years, $210 million, Thomas.
Yeah, that is a crazy amount. That is more than John Lester of the Cubs. Does he deserve all that money? We'll see. But $210 million, I mean, he's up there. Look at that roster, or that starting rotation. Steven Strasburg, Jordan Zimmerman, Doug Fister, and Gio Gonzalez. Wow, that's insane. They're going to be mowing down some hitters this year.
Yeah, it almost looks like a video game roster, as they look to be the favorites not only there in the NL East, but also in all of baseball, especially adding Max Scherzer. This team is just lethal all around. Their pitching staff is just unreal, and their hitting is going to be unreal as well. But more about Max Scherzer here. We know his success with the Detroit Tigers. He led the league in wins the last 2 years. He had 18 in 2014 and 21 in 2013. That's just unreal. He led the league in WHIP in that year. He had 21 wins, and just an amazing amount of strikeout to walk, as he posted a 4.0 strikeout to walk ratio. This guy is a Cy Young candidate every year. He's got a great fastball. He's got great tools.
Yeah, I mean, his first outing, he had 2 innings pitched. He had 2 hits against them. One was a home run, but that was his only earned run. And 20 out of his 29 pitches were strikes. So he's starting off the season on a high note.
Yeah, and the spring, like we've already kind of mentioned, a good time for these guys to really just fine-tune their pitches. And Max Scherzer is certainly doing that. He's probably working on, things. An occasional home run here and there in spring training really doesn't mean that much in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, the Nats went 96 and 66 last season, first in the NL East, and they just acquired Max Scherzer. So I'm looking for that number of 96 to go up.
Yeah, I think certainly they could post around 100 wins. They have, like we've already mentioned, a very lethal offense in a Denard Span, a Jason Worth, a young Bryce Harper. That kid is a stud. Ryan Zimmerman, the veteran. They've got a lot of guys that can do a lot of things with a lot of tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's only up for here. I mean, they're on the rise. They have a bunch of young guys, relatively young rotation. So, I mean, the future is looking bright for them.
Absolutely. And let's move on now to the fourth inning. More pitching talk here, as we're going to talk a little Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw shut down 6 straight hitters here, and his spring debut, 2 innings pitched, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts, only threw 20 pitches.
Yeah, that was crazy. He had a 21-3 record last season with a 1.77 ERA. Both of those wins and ERA were his career best. And he's only 25 years old. Yeah, he's a beast, man. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's dominant. He's got all the physical tools that the scouts love to drool over. Big frame, 6'3", lanky arms. The guy really understands how to pitch. You know, there's a difference between being able to pitch and understanding how to pitch. And Clayton Kershaw certainly understands how to pitch, as he has the best ERA in baseball the last 4 years. That's just ridiculous.
And yeah, this and his last season is 1.77 ERA. That's his lowest ERA of his career.
Yeah.
So
he's only improving, which is just the scariest thing ever that I've ever heard. I can't even imagine facing a guy like Clayton Kershaw. He's obviously top lefty in the game, as we've mentioned, Lester and Bumgarner in company. You know, the thing that is a little startling, though, with Clayton has been his postseason ability to pitch. His postseason ability to pitch hasn't been quite there in this last postseason. He posted a 7.82. The postseason before that, he posted a 6.3. So, I don't know. Should the Dodgers be worried about that, Thomas?
Yeah, no. I don't think the Dodgers should be worried. I mean, he went 0-2 the past 2 seasons when they made the postseason. But, I mean, it's Clayton Kershaw, man. You're throwing $215 million at him. You should not be worried about it. He'll work out the kinks, and he'll come back strong next time to make the postseason.
Yeah, you know, I got to agree with you there. I think, you know, he's taken a lot of heat, especially in the big market there in L.A., a lot of heat from the fans that he can't do it in the postseason. But you got to think here sooner or later that team is a good team. You know, you got Puig, you have Adrian Gonzalez, who led all of baseball in RBIs last year. He had a phenomenal year. D. Gordon, they have just a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things on that team. And, you know, I would expect them to kind of be like the Nationals and just almost favorites in all of baseball, them and the Nationals. They've just got both such good teams, so good all around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a common theme. You got Strasburg and Scherzer on the Nationals, and then you got Kershaw on the Dodgers. So, common theme, you got a couple aces right there. I mean, pitching dominates hitters sometimes, and if you have as dominant pitchers as Clayton Kershaw, Scherzer, and Strasburg, it's going to work out well for you.
Absolutely, and we will move now into the 5th inning, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals, and Jason Hayward, who will debut for them after the sad loss of Oscar Taveras. That was a terrible loss, as the postseason kind of overshadowed what really was a heartbreaking loss. A lot of guys knew Oscar Taveras. They were friends with him. This was a guy, he was the top prospect for the St. Louis Cardinals. He was a great outfielder, and it's just a sad loss to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm friends with multiple Cardinals fans, and when they heard of that news, they were just absolutely devastated. This guy was a top prospect. I believe he was a top 20 prospect, something like that. Yeah. And last year was his first full year in the MLB, so it was a sad loss. They're going to be missing a lot in him, but luckily they made the trade for Jason Hayward. Yeah, Jason Hayward, who could you find of a better replacement? Jason Hayward, he hasn't really done it on the stat sheet, but Thomas, this is a guy, I believe he's a 5-tool player. He can do a lot of things on the diamond that a lot of other outfielders cannot do. I mean, last year he played in 149 games. That's a pretty good amount. Pretty durable guy. He's got a big frame, all that. He hit 270, but he only hit 11 home runs. But you'd like to see that number go up, as he hit 27 the 1 year in Atlanta. That was 2012. You would like to see his home run numbers go up and help that Cardinals team. Yeah, I mean, he won a Gold Glove in 2014. He made the All-Star game in 2010. But, I mean, he had 20 stolen bases. He is not limited in one category. Guy can do almost everything. So I mean, he'll fill the role of Oscar Taveras quite well.
Yeah, and that's a team that's going to have a star-studded outfield in Matt Holliday, John Jay, and then Jason Hayward. Those guys can cover a lot of ground.
Oh yeah.
And they can also hit the ball pretty darn well. So the Cardinals losing Oscar Taveras, such a sad story, but gaining a guy in Jason Hayward who I believe is a stud. I think he'll do great there in St. Louis in right field for them. Let's move on now to the sixth inning. Hunter Pence.
Ooh, Hunter Pence.
Hunter Pence suffers a broken forearm here just the other day in spring training. That's going to affect the Giants hugely.
Yeah, he's out 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere around there. I mean, like I said earlier, it's good to get hurt if you were to get hurt in spring training. I mean, he can do a lot. He can hit. He can field. He can run. He's a jack of all trades. He's quite a good player.
Yeah, and out for 6 to 8 weeks, and that's just unbelievable as he's been the most durable player in the MLB. He had the longest active streak in all of baseball, over 324 games started, dating back to 2012. So the guy is a workhorse. He's not the most. He does everything a little unorthodox. His throwing motion, his hitting, his bat, the way he hits. He does everything just a little weird, and that kind of shows with the funny signs people will put up, as everybody kind of likes to jump on Hunter Pence, but gosh, the guy gets the job done. He led the league in at-bats last year, 650. And what's crazy about that is he hits in the middle of the order. So the Giants losing a middle-of-the-order type guy who is going to hit for power, he's going to hit for average. As we saw in the postseason, he was deadly against the Royals. The Royals they couldn't seem to get him out in the postseason.
Yeah, he was a nemesis of the Royals, to say the least. He every time I saw him on the TV, I was scared.
Yeah,
I'll tell you the truth, I was scared. But I mean, the ironic thing is, the likely replacement for him as of now is Nori Aoki.
Yeah, very ironic, as the Royals played the Giants in the World Series, obviously, and talked a little bit about his postseason abilities. And Hunter Pence hit .444 in that series against the Royals with 3 doubles, 5 RBIs, 1 home run. He was unstoppable there in those 30 plate appearances. And to me, it almost seemed like he was the guy up. Every single time I looked up, it was Hunter Pence batting. Crazy.
He made some clutch plays. He had an on-base percentage of .500, slugging percentage of .667, and an OPS of 1.167. So, yeah, he was a nemesis of the Royals in the postseason, to say the least.
And we'll see how this affects them early on in the year, as the Giants finished second behind the Dodgers last year in the NL West. They got that wild card spot, but with Hunter Pence out and the loss of Pablo Sandoval to the Red Sox, that is going to take a toll on the San Francisco Giants, especially early on. We'll see if their pitching can't get it done, as they do have Madison Bumgarner, but with Hunter Pence out, that's not a good sign. And, it is just a forearm injury, but, a lot of guys tend to come back off those injuries and play a little nervous. So we'll see what happens there. We'll move now into the 7th inning, and we're talking a little bit about Derek Jeter, the longtime Yankee captain, played 19 years with the Yankees. That's all of his professional career.
Why are we still talking about that? He retired.
He did retire, Thomas, but the guy, we're talking about it because, he was the captain of the Yankees, and
yeah, he was named the captain in 2003.
Yep, named the captain in 2003 and held that role all the way through his career. That's unbelievable. His class act. I don't think anybody can really compare to Derek Jeter. Is he going to be the last captain, Thomas?
Well, the GM, Cashman, said that he should be the last Yankee captain, and I strongly disagree with that. I mean, time doesn't end, man. And, I mean, Babe Ruth was a captain for the Yankees. I mean, he wasn't the last captain. Here comes Derek Jeter, a couple years later. And there's probably going to be a stud prospect after Jeter is going to, come 2030, who knows when. So, no, he definitely should not be the last Yankee captain. Granted, he was a beast. He was 6th all-time in hits with 3,465. But, I mean, who knows? The next Yankee captain could be, 5th all-time.
You never know. And here's why I'm going to disagree with you, Thomas, in that Derek Jeter, to me, is going to be the last type of perennial type all-star guy that's, he's up there every year in hits. He was up there in AL MVP voting several times. He got gypped the one year. This is why I believe he'll be the last captain, in that Jeter, there's just nobody like him to stay with one team for so long. These days, everybody goes into free agency and they want to get the highest dollar amount. It wasn't that way for Derek Jeter. He had several times where he was a free agent and he decided to stay with the Yankees. A lot of guys, like Pujols is a great example. He could have stayed there in St. Louis. He could have been the next Ted Williams, so to speak. He could have been that. The Cardinals didn't label him a captain, but he could have been that type of guy for the Cardinals, and he left for the money. Josh Hamilton did around the same thing. A lot of guys nowadays are leaving for the money. That's the reason I believe Derek Jeter will be the last captain for the Yankees.
I do agree with you that players are starting to switch teams and not spend their whole career with their teams. But, I mean, you look at Giancarlo Stanton. He just signed, a 13-year
That is very
deal.
True.
I don't even know how much. It's
325, I believe.
325? Wow, that's crazy. But, I mean, I don't know. He should not be the last Yankee captain. There will be, maybe not another Derek Jeter, but there will be not soon, but sooner or later will be another type of player like Derek Jeter.
All righty, and with that ends the 7th inning. We're going to go into the 7th inning stretch here. And right after that, we'll be back with some Royals news. The boys in blue, big news coming early on here in spring training for the Royals. We'll be back after the 7th inning stretch. And we're back after the 7th inning stretch. Got a good little break in there, and now it's time to talk about our Kansas City Royals. The Royals, who obviously went to that World Series last year in a heartbreaking loss, Thomas, as Alex Gordon hit that ball to the wall. A lot of debate on whether we should have sent him or not. I'd say that they made the right move in stopping him.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
doubt.
And, it's just sad to see Salvi pop up to Pablo Sandoval, who will no longer be a Giant.
Man, it was heartbreaking to say the least. I really thought, as well as the nation thought, that we were going to take the ship. But ALCS champions, man, if you told me that we'd be the ALCS champions by the start of the season, I would not believe you whatsoever. Yep. So, hey, it was a good season. Hopefully we make it part of this year.
Yep, I completely agree. I wouldn't have expected any of that, but the Royals, they got that wild card, and they made the most of it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're into spring training, and there was a lot of talk about if Alex Rios was going to be the right guy to fill, Nori Aoki's spot there in right field. He came off of a year where he only hit 280 with, 3 or 4 home runs?
Mm-hmm.
Not very many home runs for Alex Rios as he comes to the Royals now. But I think so far, from what he's done in spring training, has been only positive. And we're going to talk a little bit about him and Hosmer, if they can sustain the hot start they've had here in spring training, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, Rios is coming over. He signed a 1-year, $11 million deal to replace Nori. First game he played in, he went 2 for 3, 3 RBIs, and even had a home run. So he is certainly off to a hot start. But we'll see as the spring training progresses. We'll see how he does. I mean, I think he's hit like 270, 280 the past 2 seasons. So, hey, if he's around that range this season, yeah, I'll be happy with it.
Yeah, I would have to agree, certainly. As long as he keeps that number around 260 plus with around 15 plus homers, I can live with that. And that would be a good replace of Nori Aoki, who didn't really hit for power. And I think, in my opinion, Alex Rios can do about the same as Nori Aoki can do in the outfield tools-wise. I think they have about the same arm. I think they run about the same. I don't know about you, Thomas, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think Rios is maybe a bit more athletic than Nori was. You
Sure.
could tell last year Nori would kind of have trouble tracking the ball and running the balls down, but Rios, him playing for the Rangers, he did pretty well on fielding.
Yep. So right now, Hosmer and Rios have started out just unbelievably hot. Alex Rios, as Thomas mentioned, hit a home run in that first game. Today, Friday, it's a Friday right now, he's hitting over 700. That's ridiculous. I mean, it is still very early on. He was 3 for 4 today, though, and he hit his second home run already. Hosmer is batting 600. He did not play today, but he does have that 1 home run. Rios is projected to hit only 9 home runs. That's his projected amount. What do you think about that?
I mean, 9 home runs, that's all right, but I think he can eclipse that. I think he can get more than 9 home runs. But pertaining to Hosmer signed a 2-year, $12.9 million deal this past offseason.
Good to get him wrapped up in that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hopefully we get him signed long-term in these 2 years. I think Dayton will get that done. But, I mean, Hosmer, yeah, he's off to a crazy start, too. He's batting over 600, too. And the second game he played, he went 1 for 2. So, I mean, they're both off to a crazy start. Hopefully they can keep it up and transfer that into the regular season.
Yeah, and it's been fun to watch. I think bringing in Rios, to me, he's going to be kind of the new leader, if you would, so to speak, say, after James Shields leaves and goes to the Padres. Rios bringing in, he was a former AL MVP. The guy obviously has done a lot in his career. I think Rios is that new type of leader, and I think Hosmer can almost emerge as that new type of leader as well. You saw him in the postseason. He had a phenomenal postseason. Him and Moustakas played fantastically, and just him being brought up through the system, I think he really knows how to play the way Dayton wants them to play. And I think both Rios and Hosmer, if they can stay hot like they are right now in spring training, they can both definitely be leaders of this ball club.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Hosmer last year in the playoffs, he was absolutely raking, man. And, being a homegrown talent, all the people in KC, they love him. I mean, we love our homegrown talent. Him, Moustakas. I mean, he has won 2 Gold Gloves won 1 Gold Glove the past 2 seasons. So, I mean, I think it's all but up from here, man. The potential, he got drafted pretty high. He got drafted in the first round. So he has potential there, and hopefully he reaches that potential for our own sake. Yeah,
I would hope so as well. As Hosmer batted .270 last year. That was good for 58 RBIs and only 9 home runs. That was a very low amount for him. I think he's a guy, for me, he's great with the glove. Fantastic with the glove on defense. He's going to win Gold Gloves. But he needs to stay more consistent in the regular season. As we've seen, guys like Mike Moustakas last year who started off hot in spring training. Spring training to me doesn't really mean a lot. It can indicate a few things.
Yeah.
But I don't think it says the whole story. But seeing them start off hot really does kind of reassure that this wasn't a fluke that we made it to the World Series. This is a real team, and it's a team now in the AL Central that should be feared, especially, as we mentioned earlier, the Max Scherzer loss in Detroit. So Detroit is losing a couple guys there, and the Royals are gaining a couple guys. I think it should be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see as well how they play out the rest of spring training.
Yeah, I mean, Hosmer in the postseason, man, he was raking. He, in the wild card, he hit 750. In the division series, he hit 400. And in the ALCS, he hit 400 as well. It took a little dip in the World Series in 250, but in my opinion, he was the MVP of our postseason. He carried our team. He hit home runs, drove in runs. He was the reason why we got to the World Series.
Alrighty, well, enough talk there about Rios and Hosmer. We'll hope that they can keep that hot start and sustain it, as they would love to be, leaders of this team and lead this ball club into another playoff run. Let's talk. We go into the 9th inning here. It's our last segment, and we're going to talk about the downside of things in the Royals and from the injury standpoint, as Alex Gordon coming off that wrist surgery injury, and Timmy Collins just recently in spring training gets injured. His MRI revealed today that he has ligament damage. The Royals haven't yet decided if they will go to Tommy John with that or not, but some bad news there. But how do you think the Royals are going to deal with these injuries, Thomas?
Well, Tim Collins, it's like I said, it's good to be injured during spring training because it gives you time to recover before the regular season. But dealing with Tim Collins, I think he is more replaceable than Alex Gordon. I mean, we got some arms in that pen, so his loss, we'll feel the loss, but it's going to be a lot less hurtful than Alex Gordon's loss will be. But Ned said that Tim won't be anytime soon until he comes back. So, we'll see what happens with that. Alex Gordon, though, he just hit soft toss for the first time on Thursday, so things are looking up with him.
Yeah, surely things are looking up, and Ned Yost said, and I quote, "His progression will jump up to hitting off the coaches in the cage Friday." Manager Ned Yost, this is coming from him again, "He'll do a couple of days of that, then take it onto the field for a couple of days, and then he should be ready to go." So Ned Yost sounds very optimistic about Alex Gordon's injury, and I don't know why he wouldn't be, especially as I would say that Alex Gordon is the leader of this ball club, and the guy is physically fit every year. They always talk about Alex Gordon's physical abilities, and he takes care of his body so well. It does not surprise me at all that Ned Yost is very optimistic about him returning in a very, in a very fast-paced way, more fast-paced than what most people would come off that injury.
Yeah, I mean, look, he made the All-Star game the past 2 years. He's won, the past 4 years, he's won 4 Gold Gloves. This past year, he won the award of the best defender in the AL. So, we need him. We need him on opening day. And without him, we are not near as good of a ball club, without him. So, yeah. He is one of our MVPs, and if he's not there on opening day, we'll definitely feel it.
Yeah, but it is a good thing to have reassured that we have a guy in Gerard Dyson that can be ready at any moment to get in that outfield, play center field. They can toy around with Lorenzo Cain maybe in left field if they have to, maybe Alex Rios in left field. But let's talk a little bit more here about Timmy Collins, as that's some pretty big news, as he has been a very dominant left-hander for the Royals. What do you think the Royals are going to do about that, Thomas?
Well, the only thing they can do is wait. So, he will be missed. I mean, the past 4 seasons, he had a 3.63 ERA in 2011, 3.36 ERA 2012, 3.54 ERA in 2013, and 3.86 ERAs, 3.86 ERA in 14. So, I mean, he is good. He has that crazy breaking ball, that curveball. Man, that thing can drop off the table.
Absolutely.
So he will be missed. Hopefully, who knows if he'll be back before opening day. But luckily, we have some arms in that pen that can carry the load.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. That's the great thing about this Royals ball club is they just have so many different weapons and so many different options that they can opt to in the bullpen. You got Luke Hochevar coming back. Luke Hochevar was a stud when healthy out of the bullpen. You know, he wasn't as good as a starter. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about his success as a reliever. He was a stud. So at this point, I'm not too worried, as well as they do have Brandon Finnegan, who came up late for the Royals and pitched phenomenally in the World Series in the postseason. But I don't know if that would be as much of an option, Thomas, as Brandon Finnegan. They want to develop him as a starter, and I see him starting out the year in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ned said that as well. I think that's rightfully so. I think Brandon Finnegan has the potential to be a really good starter here in the MLB. Maybe like a 2-3, maybe not an ace, but still a 2-3 is pretty good. I mean, Brandon Finnegan was our first-round draft pick last year. He has the potential. I'm glad he contributed in the postseason. He really helped us in the postseason get to that World Series. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard for him even to battle for a starting spot there in the rotation, as you look at a great rotation the Royals will have in Yordano Ventura, Jason Vargas, Jeremy Guthrie, Danny Duffy, Edison Volquez, and Chris Medlin. There's a lot of guys with a lot of talent there in that starting staff. So Brandon Finnegan will certainly have his work cut out for him, and we'll hope that these injuries get solved soon. We'll hope that Gordo bounces back. I'm sure he will, as well as Timmy Collins. They've got a great medical staff. The Royals will have nothing but, positive feedback, and they'll do whatever is in the best interest for the ball club to get those guys healthy.
Yeah, the Royals haven't really been plagued with too much injuries the past couple of years. I mean, this is beside, Alex Gordon's injury. Luckily, it was during the off season. He was ready for opening day, or supposedly going to be ready for opening day. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Royals respond to this.
Absolutely, and that was our ninth inning topic, and with that brings our second edition of Around the Bags to a close. It was great to have Thomas back on the mic. He'll be on the mic consistently for us, as we'd love to talk around the league, the MLB, and our boys in blue, the Royals. This has been the second edition of Around the Bags. Thank you, and have a great day.